Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a topic that affects so many long-term relationships. How do you keep that sexual connection strong? When the novelty is gone and life just sort of takes over.
And for this, we're looking at a really important source, the 2024 book Come Together by Emily Nagoski. If you know her work, you know Come As You Are was just groundbreaking.
Absolutely. And this new book, it's the sequel we all needed, looking specifically at desire inside a long-term partnership.
Well, and it starts with this incredible moment of
Oh, the
vulnerability.
paradox. Yeah.
Exactly. She publishes what is basically the definitive guide to female desire, and then almost immediately her own desire just disappears.
It's amazing. She becomes the very problem she's supposed to be the world's leading expert on.
And that's what makes this so powerful. It forces her and us to question this core idea that if that initial, fiery spark phase, that something is fundamentally wrong with the relationship.
Right. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to challenge that obsession with the spark and spontaneity. We're going to dig into why great sex long-term is really about enjoyment and context.
It's a complete reframing. And if there's one single idea you take away from this, it should be this one. Great long-term sex is not about how much you want sex.
Okay.
It's about how much you enjoy the sex you're actually having.
That is a massive shift. I mean, if you measure success by enjoyment, then all that pressure, that sense of obligation or performance, it just kind of falls away.
It does. The whole conversation becomes about connection and mutual satisfaction. She gives us this great slogan for it. Pleasure is the measure.
Pleasure is the measure. I like
That's
that.
so critical because, society really pushes one specific story about desire.
Oh, yeah. The spontaneous kind.
Exactly. That unprompted internal feeling, the I need you now moment that drives every romantic comedy ever made.
But trying to live up to that, a decade into a relationship, Nagoski says that's just a recipe for disappointment. It's a completely unsustainable standard.
It really is. Spontaneous desire is wonderful, but it's often fueled by novelty, by brain chemistry that naturally changes over time. For a connection to last, we have to understand and, well, learn to rely on responsive desire.
Okay, so let's break that down. Spontaneous comes from inside. How does responsive desire actually work?
Responsive desire is activated externally. It doesn't just bubble up on its own. It's triggered by something, a touch, a conversation, a change in the environment. It's that feeling of, I wasn't thinking about sex at all, but now that you're doing that or now that we're talking, okay, something's starting to happen.
The book has a great example of this, right? Imagine someone listening who's had a terrible, stressful day at work.
Yeah.
They get home, they're exhausted. Their brain has zero room for sex. Spontaneous desire is just, it's not there.
Right. But then maybe their partner starts rubbing their shoulders while they're on the couch. No pressure, no expectations. That physical touch in that safe emotional context can actually bypass the stress.
So the touch is the cue.
The touch is the cue. The action and the context are what switch on the arousal systems. It's not some thought that just appeared out of nowhere.
Which means asking, do you want to have sex, to a stressed out partner is almost designed to get a no.
Exactly. But if you start by creating the context, by initiating the action, you're giving responsive desire a chance to actually show up.
And this isn't just a nice idea, right? This is backed by research.
Decades of it. I mean, Nagoski is clear. No one gets sick or dies from a lack of sex. It's not essential for survival. But if it's important for your relationship, the focus has to be on the quality of the pleasure, not just, ticking a box.
It's the difference between checking a box and actually checking in with each other. All the big studies, from Kinsey onward, show that mutual satisfaction is a way better predictor of relationship happiness than just frequency. Quality over quantity.
Which brings us to the frameworks for creating that quality.
Yeah.
You have to actively build the right environment, and that means going back to a core tool from her earlier work, the dual control model.
Okay, let's do a quick refresher on this. It's like two pedals in your brain controlling arousal.
Precisely. You've got the gas pedal, that's everything, internal or external, that turns you on and moves you toward sex.
And then the important one for long-term couples.
The brake pedal, that's all the inhibitions, the things that turn you off, distract you, or just block arousal completely, even if the gas is being pressed.
And in a long-term relationship, the gas pedal might be working fine, but the brake is just constantly being pushed down by life.
That's the key insight. The biggest difference between a new relationship and an old one isn't a weaker gas pedal. It's way more pressure on the brake pedal. And that pressure all comes down to context. She breaks it into 3 types.
First is the physical context. This is the simple stuff.
Right. Is the room a mess? Is it quiet? Is the dog scratching at the door? If you don't feel physically safe and uninterrupted, the brake is on.
Then there's the emotional context. This one's deeper.
Much deeper. Do you feel safe with your partner? Is there resentment from an argument earlier? You can't be emotionally walled off and expect your body to just open up.
And the third one, which feels like the hardest one today, is the mental context.
Oh, for sure. It's about being present. Are you still thinking about that email from your boss? Are you running through the grocery list in your head? If your mind isn't there, the rest of you can't be either.
So the big takeaway for you, the listener, is that great sex isn't magic. It's the result of actively working together to create the right context. You have to team up to take the foot off those brakes.
And once you understand that, the next question is, well, what's the right context for my partner? What are they even looking for when they initiate sex? This is where Nagoski's work gets really fascinating.
This is the big four needs.
Yes, this is the actionable core of the book. She asked hundreds of people this one question. When you want sex with your partner, what do you really want? What's the need you're trying to meet?
And the answers fell into four main categories. The first one is connection.
Right, and this is so much more about emotional closeness than it is about orgasm. For these people, sex is about feeling held and seen and, deeply bonded. Cuddling and talking might actually be more important than the physical act itself.
You see this a lot after a big fight or a stressful period, right? It's a way to come back together.
Exactly. It's about rebuilding that intimacy. Okay, the second need is shared pleasure.
So this is more about the other person.
Totally. The focus is outward. The main driver is the joy you get from watching your partner experience pleasure. Their satisfaction is your satisfaction.
Number three is being wanted. This feels like a big one.
It's huge, and it's so tied to self-esteem and body image. This is about needing to feel desirable, sexy, and attractive in your partner's eyes. It's about validation.
Yeah, you can see how these could clash. If your partner's main need is being wanted, but your focus is on shared pleasure, say you're just trying to give them an orgasm, you could be completely missing what they actually need in that moment.
You're missing the point entirely. A new mom feeling insecure about her body might not need a new technique. She might need to hear how beautiful and desirable she is.
Okay, and the fourth need.
The fourth is freedom. This is sex as a pure escape, a mental vacation from all the stress and obligations of life. For these people, it's about getting lost in pure sensation and shutting the world out for a little while.
So the crucial thing is, you have to talk about this. You can't just assume you and your partner are seeking the same thing.
You absolutely have to. The exercise is to talk about which of the big four is driving you. Saying, I'm feeling distant, I really need some connection tonight is so much more effective than just initiating and hoping they get it. It turns a potential conflict into a negotiation.
And knowing those needs helps us figure out what's hitting the brake pedal so hard. The book is really clear about the number one culprit.
Oh yeah, it's chronic stress and burnout.
It all comes back to burnout.
It does. The biology is simple. When you're constantly stressed, your body is full of cortisol. You're in survival mode. And your brain, quite correctly, decides that sex, which requires safety and relaxation, is not an essential activity right now.
It's not you being broken. It's your body doing its job. It's saying, I can't deal with pleasure. I'm dealing with a perceived threat. Sex starts to feel like just another thing on the to-do list.
A huge one. And beyond stress, body image is a massive break. Nagoski says something like 80% of women struggle with it. It's almost impossible to get lost in pleasure when you're judging how your body looks.
So what's the strategy there?
It's about shifting your focus from appearance to sensation. She calls
Yeah.
it trust in the body. You have to deliberately notice what feels good. The feeling of the sheets, the warmth of your partner's skin, instead of critiquing yourself.
Okay, so we have the needs, we have the breaks. How do we get from one state to the other? From stressed and exhausted to present and aroused.
This is where she introduces a really practical tool, the emotional floor plan.
I love this idea. A mental map.
It's a mental map. It recognizes that you're not starting from zero. You're usually starting in a negative emotional room, the exhaustion room, the anxiety room, the resentment room.
And you can't just teleport from the anxiety room to the lust room.
No, you need a pathway. The floor plan helps you map out the steps. For one person, the path out of the I'm so annoyed the house is a mess room might be 10 minutes of tidying up together.
For another, the path out of the my brain is still at work room might be 15 minutes of reading a book with no screens allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The paths are personal and intentional, and it gives you a language to talk about it that isn't accusatory. Instead of, why do you always reject me? It becomes,
Hey, I'm really stuck in the exhaustion room right now. I think I need a bath before I can even think about finding the path to the lustrum. Can we try in an hour?
that changes everything. It makes it a shared problem to solve, not a personal failing. The idea is to literally draw your floor plans and start testing out different paths.
Which brings us to the final strategies. I can hear people thinking, scheduling sex. That sounds so unromantic. How does she counter that?
She argues it's about prioritization, not performance. When you schedule less time, you're not scheduling an orgasm. You're scheduling a time to intentionally create the context for connection. You're protecting that time from everything else that life throws at you.
So you're not hoping for spontaneity, you're planning for opportunity.
Beautifully put. You're planning for opportunity. And that foundation rests on trust and admiration. Little daily things like a real compliment or a moment of gratitude. Build the emotional safety net you need.
And to make that scheduled time even better, there's the practice of savoring.
Yes. This is about reprogramming your brain's capacity for pleasure in general.
So it's not just about sex, it's about life.
It's about everything. Savoring is intentionally focusing on sensory pleasure in everyday moments. You don't just eat the cookie. You notice the texture, the warmth, the taste of the chocolate. You don't just hear music. You listen to the layers.
And the science on this is pretty solid, right?
Yeah. It's profound. When you train your brain to notice and amplify small positive sensations, you lower your overall stress levels and you actually expand your capacity for pleasure. So when it's time for sexual pleasure, your nervous system is already primed for it.
And finally, she's realistic.
Mm.
Life happens, illness, aging, long periods where sex just isn't on the table.
Right. And in those times, the expectations have to change. The goal shifts from a specific sexual act to simply maintaining intimacy. That might mean more non-sexual touch, holding each other, deep affection. The goal is always mutual enjoyment, even when the form of that enjoyment has to change.
Okay, so let's put this all together for you, the listener. The path to a great long-term sex life means you have to let go of the myth of spontaneous desire.
And instead, you focus on responsive desire. You figure out your big four needs. Is it connection, shared pleasure, being wanted, or freedom?
And you use that emotional floor plan as a shared map to navigate all the barriers that modern life throws in your way.
Our final point is just so powerful. Great sex isn't some magical prize for the lucky few. It is the direct result of conscious human collaboration. It's what happens when two people decide to prioritize trust and pleasure over what society tells them they should be doing.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to take away. If your sexual satisfaction really does depend on intentional effort and working together, what deeply held myth about spontaneous, effortless connection do you need to let go of, starting today, to actually begin building that mutual enjoyment?